Hello, you beautiful beings. Today I have a very special treat. Today I am joined by a beautiful woman named Chascidi, and we are going to do a live astrological natal chart reading. And we are going into this blind. I have no idea what she's gonna ask me, but I have her chart right here in front of me. And for the next 40 minutes, she can ask me anything. You'll see her chart on the screen and you can follow along if you're an astrologer or astrologically interested. And both of us are just so excited to see what unfolds today. So after 40 minutes, you're going to hear a timer go off. If you like this interview and you want us to do part 2 or 3 or 4, let us know in the comments below. But for now, let's jump in and see what unfolds. Welcome, Chascidi. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Maya. I'm so excited. I've been excited all week for this opportunity to dive into my chart, which I've been wanting to do with you for a long time. So let's do it.
Let's do it. So Chascidi, just for contextual reasons, could you tell our listeners a little bit about where you're at in your own astrological studies?
So I know pretty much nothing about astrology. So it's going to be really fun today. And I can't wait to just see what comes up. We've done other stuff together. My human design, that was really cool. So I'm just gonna see where this takes us. I'm open to whatever comes up.
Okay, so yeah, Chascidi was first guided to me by her mom and dad, who are both in the spirit world. And we began with mediumship readings. And it's so wild because so many of you know me for astrology, but our journey has been totally different. So Chascidi, I'm here. I've got your chart in front of me, and let me just make some comments like about the chart generally, and then I want you to ask some questions of me. So very first thing, looking at the chart that I see, well, one thing I really see is it's really heavy on the right side. And that has a lot to do with fate and destiny, and also a lot to do with other people. But the next first thing that I see is your ascendant sign in the sign of Aries, which makes you awesome. Like, I personally have an Aries stellium, so right away there's some synastry between the two of us. But having an ascendant sign in the sign of Aries means that it is the planetary ruler of Aries, which rules your chart. That means that your chart ruler is Mars, and Mars is located in the 5th house, which is the house of sex, dating, romance, pleasure, and children. So it tells me right away that something about those things would play a core significance in your life. And in this case, I think it's being a mom. But whenever I see an Aries ruled ascendant, I know right away this person isn't here for an easy life. Absolutely not. Because Mars is our planet of warfare and overcoming. It's where we fight and we put in hard work and we have to bring passion to overcome challenge and goals. That's a theme of the chart right away, and everyone I know with an Aries ascendant has to do that somehow in some way. That's only strengthened, that theme, with the rest of the chart. The North Node in the 6th house, let alone North Node in a sign-based conjunction with Saturn, means this is a lifetime of hard work. The lesson here is to let go of imagined fear and worries. Focus on what's right in front of you, the task at hand, what needs to be done, what needs to be learned. And if you're a mom, if that Mars is, now sometimes that Mars could be talking about a sport or something like that, but if it is talking about motherhood, this is the day-to-day. This is, what are we gonna feed them? What are their hobbies? What are their sports? Taking care of them, that's key. Relationships are highlighted in the chart. Even though, and the time will be removed from this chart, but Chascidi was born in the middle of the day, meaning that it's the sun, not the moon, that is her primary luminary of the chart. With that said, the moon is still significant. very significant. And her natal moon as the secondary luminary is conjunct Pluto. It's in the 7th house of one-on-one relationships. So no matter whether we like it or not, relationships are going to fare extremely prominently in this individual's life. And they're going to have an extremely powerful impact on her psychology and overall well-being. Wherever the moon is, we see that. It affects our health, it affects our body, and it affects our emotionality. In this case, it's in the house of other people. So who you have around you is going to have a dramatic impact on your overall vitality. That would be true with the moon in general. Classically, the moon represented the physical body, but in this case, in a conjunction, close conjunction with Pluto, which is affiliated with the underworld and our deep unconscious and psychology, these people will affect that too. Also, speaking of going deep, really deep, the deepest depths of the deepness, your primary luminary, welcome to the club. Yeah, like, oh my God. Your primary luminary, the sun, is in the sign of Scorpio, which is the depth, I would say. It's also a Mars-ruled sign, so it's strengthened in the chart. And it's in the 8th house, which is other people's stuff. The 8th house is a lot of things, and it is my 8th house content, which is by far and away the most popular on this channel. I'm an 8th house person too, but when you have your sun in the 8th house, you shine light in the darkness. The sun also represents the father, and the 8th house is sometimes known as the place of death. Sometimes we can see a sudden or unexpected death of the father when we have the sun in a close conjunction with Uranus, like we do here in the chart, especially in the house of death. There's an unpredictability or an unexpectedness to all of it. Interestingly, when we have Uranus conjunct the sun, I rarely see this. But this is a person who's meant to stand out in their uniqueness, who's meant to live differently. I would say with the Uranus-Sun conjunction, I've rarely seen this in any astrological readings, but I would say you have to give yourself permission to be different. You know what I'm thinking is like Lady Gaga born this way. Like, just like, it's like, be you. And we have secrets in the 8th house, and it's particularly the place of the occult, no matter what sign it's ruled by. But when it's ruled by Scorpio, that is even more true. So it's like, you need total permission to pursue the mystical things in your own way. And this is going to be your own way, and you're going to be your own person, and you're not meant to be like the others. You were born to individuate. Uranus conjunct the sun. But there's also this 9th house part of you, and the 9th house was classically known as the place of God, quests, of spirituality. We've got quite a bit going on there. So we have Venus, which is the second most positive planet in a day chart, located there in the 9th house, indicating that these pursuits of God, source, higher wisdom, higher understanding, they would be overall favorable for you or enjoyed. The reason I hesitate a little bit is you can see a ton of red lines coming off of the 9th house planets here, indicating that there is a little bit of inner turmoil around this. For example, the pursuit of God could take you away from those lessons and destiny around focusing on what's right in front of you. In all of this, there's a lot of square here between the 9th house and the 6th house planets. There's a lot of conflictual energy and challenge to overcome. So how can you balance both? How can you find God, strengthen your intuition, learn, go on this quest of truth, and also, what are we going to eat for dinner? Are the socks clean? Is everyone's health okay? And there would be throughout the life, there's some supportive aspects here with Neptune and Mars, but there would be throughout. This indicates actually that it's possible if you have a child who has the same spiritual belief or develops the same type of spiritual belief as you, they could help you with this. But overall, there's a need to balance the 9th house and the 6th house quite considerably. But that's sort of the chart, like in a nutshell. So if you look at it, the one thing I didn't mention is Chiron in the second house, which indicates a feeling of vulnerability around money and finances and material life. Also, it represents a capacity to be able to heal or provide really sensitive, nuanced guidance to other people to help people heal or remedy their financial situation. It also describes that significant money could be made by working in the healing arts. So that's the one thing we didn't mention. And that, I guess, is really strong because even your midheaven, which indicates your career, destiny, or legacy, is in the sign of Capricorn, which is Saturn ruled, the natal Saturn, and then also being in the 6th house, which is the house of disease, indicating that dealing directly with real diseases that can be seen and recognized, or directly in healing for people that have real grounded Virgo-based challenges in the physical world, is part of the destiny, or part of the legacy. So this chart is very, very heavy in 6th house, house of disease, house of children, house of one-on-one relationships, deep depth, occult, spirituality, psychology, and it's very weak in all the other things. So it's like very, very strong in those things, and a lot of the rest of it is missing. So it pretty clearly describes what you would be exploring in this life. So that's kind of big picture, a little bit of what I see just taking in the chart initially. So how do you feel about that?
Well, that's a lot. You kind of basically just took a white canvas and painted my whole life how it's been since I got here. So that's amazing. I mean, if people that know me listen to this, they would definitely be like shaking their head. Yes, that's her. Wow.
Really?
Well, I do have some questions. I mean, I feel like I have 100 of them now. When we first started talking about doing this, I was like, I don't even really know what to ask because I've never really thought about all these things, right? So I don't know if should I just start shooting them at you?
Whatever feels most exciting to you, whatever question, just start there. It doesn't have to make sense.
Well, I know what you just went over. You went over it, kind of in the broad sense, but I think I'm most curious about, I would say if like we had to put it under a header, it would be purpose. So like what is my soul's purpose and how can I align with it? And what are those lessons in life that I'm supposed to go through here, those karmic knots or whatever, and then any natural gifts and talents, blind spots, things like that.
Okay, so there's multiple ways of looking at purpose. With the sun in the 8th house, classically astrologers would have actually looked to the sun for purpose. I would say that dealing directly with matters of death, secrets, people who are on the brink of life and death or have recently come back from death, like near-death experience, or who are significantly struggling or suffering or dealing with ailments, is a part of the purpose. You somehow, some way, to be living the purpose fully, you would be connecting deeply, powerfully, in those sort of taboo areas, and being willing to go into the unconventional. This chart would definitely favor, like, who's that? Bruce Grayson or like someone like that who just says, you know what, this really weird thing in spirituality, Raymond Moody initially, when no one was talking about NDEs, and you're just like, you know what, I'm going to look into that. So why do I say that? Why do I say, oh, I'm going to look into that? Because that is clearly stated here in the chart. You are meant to publish. So it doesn't have to be you specifically, a partner, someone could help you. But you don't just have a Virgo North Node in the 6th house of disease, but you have it conjunct Jupiter, which is we're here to share a higher truth, wisdom, or understanding. But it's not Jupiter in Pisces, it's Jupiter in what astrologers would have said it's fall. So Jupiter likes to talk about spirituality, but this is not that. The evolutionary step is to say, okay, if I'm going to touch spirituality, how can I make this practical? This cannot be woo-woo. This cannot be airy-fairy. It has to have a dramatic practical, not dramatic, but it has to be a grounded, practical impact that can be measured on the improvement of a person's physical or psychological well-being. The thing is, though, if you can prove it, and I would say the chart says you can, it says you need to dream a dream first, but with a ninth house like this, I mean, connection to universities is pretty good, I would say, even if it comes through another person, because there's that, you know, your seventh house of other people is ruled by Venus, which is in the ninth house of universities. So publishing here is very, very good if you can prove that this thing, for example, an example of this would be, like maybe EMDR or meditation, we believe this is curative for PTSD, or we believe this is curative for pancreatic cancer, or it slows the progression of the disease. You actually do the research, publish the research, and then you receive the financial input that you want and need. But like with a Chiron in the second house, something I think that you need to know is there's always a feeling of vulnerability around money. That's part of the life, but it's what compels you towards the purpose. Because if money came easily, you might just rest on your laurels, you know what I mean? Or just like meditate all day. So like they made you feel vulnerable around money so that you would have practical impacts. Like that you would do something like the evolutionary step. There's an indication you may have been a priest or something in a prior life, but you weren't like the regular villagers who were starving out in the streets were working and they couldn't make it to your services and they didn't benefit. So in this life, how are you going to feed the hungry? So the soul's evolutionary step is I am woke in this world. I am awake. But what can I do of practical value to those who are sick and suffering? What is interesting to me about this chart is many things, but it indicates suffering psychologically and physically. But I guess that is the case. Like I'm thinking too clinically myself, because I guess the truth of the matter is every person who has a serious disease is also suffering psychologically. And that can be with fear of death or other things. But there's a connection there between that death and the fear and the psychological trauma and suffering and the disease. Let me see, what are those actual connections and how close is it? I mean, that's exact, between the sun and Saturn. And it's a sextile, so it's a supportive aspect.
So are you saying that I do more of the research, which then impacts a broader amount of people, or do I actually work one-on-one with people in like a healing capacity in a more practical way?
This life is about work, and it's about working hard, and it's about doing a lot, and it's about working consistently. So what I'm saying is, first of all, this is probably happening as part of a team, or at least there's partners or other people helping you, including some connection to universities. And there's definitely help from the other side. But I would say you're meant to do all of it. So like the publishing itself, like writing up documents and publishing, that usually is a team effort. Rarely do you see, an article or something with one author, especially in a case like this. So that you probably would play a part in it. There's definitely deep work one-on-one with other people, possibly people who are grieving, with that moon conjunct Pluto in the seventh house. When a person has a primary luminary in the seventh house, that person could be a psychologist, a counselor, a therapist, an intuitive. It can be multiple things, but deep work one-on-one with other people is indicated when there's significant luminaries in the seventh and eighth house.
Okay.
But the Jupiter conjunct the North Node and this stellium in the ninth house, these have more to do with the pursuit and teaching of knowledge tied to the purpose. So I would say there's a public component of this, and that may attract one-on-one connections too. Or it could be like you may work one-on-one, gather stories of some type, or get a research interest. and then study that more significantly. I mean, I think that's even like, I mentioned Raymond Moody before, but I think that's even what happened for him. Or like Bruce Grayson, like they had these deep interactions with other people that impacted them, and then that caused them to study more deeply, and then they eventually like wrote and published books that changed the world. So publishing is different now, so I don't know what this would look like, but it needs to be accessible to everyday people. So maybe it would be TikTok, do you know what I mean? I don't even, or whatever social media platform is birthed. Maybe it's teaching seminars in an actual hospital. I mean, Virgo, it's Virgo. Like, it's gotta be practical, accessible, related to healing, detailed, useful information. And it can be woo-woo, but it's how do we take woo-woo and give it to a person in a way that they can actually use. Do you get what I mean? And how can we show them? So you're part of, you know, I think a team of souls that are here to show, no, this is real. This is not just belief. This is not just faith. There's something to this. And maybe it's not the whole thing. You know, maybe you need the meditation and you need chemotherapy, but it's something. And you're meant to be part of the evolutionary step to show the value of it. And it's not enough to hypothesize, you've got to prove it. And to do that, you're going to definitely have help from your loved ones on the other side. That's the trine between Saturn and the sun in the 8th house, for sure.
Okay.
And even the Pluto moon. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely indications. It's weird because like I can't be totally clear here as I would have been if I didn't know anything about your chart. Because like I said, you were guided to me for mediumship specifically, but your chart clearly states that both mom and dad would be past. Mom first and then dad is what it says. And with dad, it could have been unexpectedly or happened more quickly or been unpredictable. With mom, it could have been possibly tied to psychology or an effect in that way. So, but it clearly both issues significant differences related to the parents at the very least could be described in the chart. If they were alive, it's something real strange would be going on. So like based on the like position of the planets in the chart, for sure. So it definitely was not going to be, like normal. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't going to be like mom and dad together, like in a relationship, happy home, happy family. That's not the way the planets are set up. But they are set up in a way that leads you on the pathway to your destiny. So something about the loss of the parents themselves is the setup for the greater destiny.
Which totally makes sense because when, you know, his was so quick, his diagnosis and his passing. Yeah. And we were working on this stuff together before, and he was so into it, and it was awesome.
Oh, really?
It was such a journey together. So yeah, and then mom was, you know, she's been gone almost 10 years now. So yeah, it's amazing to hear this all. It's just I'm trying to digest it all. Like what? It's really cool.
So I didn't really know that. I didn't know that you and your dad were working on this. But the sudden and unexpected. That's really important. So I understand that's not easy, but it may be the case that you may work and have the most powerful positive impact on the lives of other people who's also lost their loved ones suddenly. Or you may specialize or deal with conditions whereby there's a quick decline. Do you know what I mean? Versus conditions where there's a more slow decline. And so how do we recover, or even like I think about like a lot of the research and literature on grief. What cures grief? Well, it may change, you know, if you're listening to this in the future, but we currently know that to recover from grief, you have to be able to position whatever you're grieving within time and space effectively. So for example, if you could, for example, prove the existence of life after death or be a part of that, and help in some unconventional way, because this is Uranus conjunct the sun, using in part a collaboration with your dad in the spirit world to help People connect unconventionally again, very likely, with their departed loved ones. It could be curative to grief. If you could capture, using some sort of psychological tool, for example, this impact in a real way and say, no, on this grief scale, yes, these individuals go from 36 to 22. It is impacting. That would be a fulfillment. That'd be one example of fulfilling this destiny. But you'd have to be, I guess, like working with people closely one-on-one, and you'd have to have some kind of tool. That's the research part. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't even know if there is, that's just an example, like a grief scale or something like that. But that's one example of how it could be. There could be an impact on some sort of heritable disease, where you're working at the intersection of physical health and sort of psychology. That could be, for sure. I think purpose, though, like if you make it more basic, like in the day to day, deeply connect with the secrets of other people. Eighth house can also be shared money. So it depends on with astrology, it's always level of consciousness. So if we're living a very 3D life, things manifest in one way. As we ascend, the manifestation ascends. So in early life, it can be just directly dealing with other people's money, or even like a chart like this, like, no, I don't think this is your life, but I mean, dealing with death directly, like working at a funeral home or like something like that, or insurance, inheritance, that sort of thing could be. But I don't think you ever lived that kind of life directly.
No.
But some people would, if you were raised in a really conventional sense, you could end up working in insurance. Or so, I don't even know what they would call that, but someone who like is involved and hired professionally to like manage the estates of other people who like suddenly passed from a disease. That could be, you know what I mean? At like a lower level of, no, I don't want to say lower, but I'm just saying like the chart matches us. So the themes and energies will play out as our level of consciousness changes the way we express them, or their nature, just like all of us. We all have different parts that are guided vibrationally, so the same thing with the planets. So, but I think you were born kind of awake. Were you born?
I felt very awake, Maya.
You're very awake. Yeah, 8th house club. Oh my God. Yeah, did you feel like from the very beginning, like you could deeply sense what was going on within other people?
Yeah. I have that knowing and feeling of what's around me, very sensitive to environments, people, energy, all of that. From a small child.
Do you feel like naturally psychologically gifted? Like, have you been able to sense people's psychological vulnerabilities, or needs, would you say?
I would say yes, but I feel awkward saying that out loud. I do. It's interesting. I don't even know how to really put it into proper words, but I just always say it's like a knowing. It's like a download or something. Like I can sense, like just being in the presence, watching, listening, like just being near them. Even the people across the room, sometimes I can just tell, like, I need to go over there and strike up a conversation, or, and then the next thing you know, it's manifested into this like really deep, meaningful conversation that that person needed to have. Just little things like that, but it's not like I go seek it out. It just happens real naturally.
There's like the whole nature nurture debate. And obviously the reason it's a debate is because both sides are right. But I believe when it comes to like healers and psychologists, it's true that you can be born or you can be made. But this is the chart of someone who's born this way. Like literally like the Lady Gaga song again. Like this is the chart of someone who's born with a natural, powerful psychological potency and a strong intuition and physical healing capacities too. So some people are conditioned. You know, there are certain cultures where, like, I have a lot of friends that were raised in India or China, and it's like, especially India, I would say, you will be a doctor. End of story. You know, so from the it doesn't matter if they had the calling or not. It was, this is what you'll do. And guess what? They made it through medical school, and guess what? They're doctors. But in their heart, in their very being, they might be a filmmaker or a ballerina or something like that. Like that wasn't their heart calling. Versus like for you, it's sort of the opposite. Like life may have not afforded you the opportunity to get your PhD in psychology or doctorate in medicine yet. But at the same time, like there's an innate ability. Now, it could be hidden. So I would say, I guess, like, I didn't mention that, right? So you're very different than those around you, the chart says. And you know that, but you hide it. And only those that you're closest with would realize that. And also, probably, you want to be different. You don't want to be like everyone else. But, like, what's in the 8th house is often hidden or is not spoken about. And so you may have known a lot of other people's secrets and just been aware of a lot of secret content, especially about those that were really close to you, but you may have kept it inside.
Oh, for sure. Especially as like a young person, I was very intimidated by, you know, letting anybody see too much of that. And I did feel very different, and it made me feel kind of insecure and vulnerable. But now, like as I get older, it's I would say it's way more comfortable for me just to be me. It's almost hard for me not to be me now. It's like the full authentic, and not maybe for everybody. It's not like I go, you know, splashing all the wild colors out in front of everybody all the time. But when it comes on my heart to just open that up, I open that up. But when I was young, definitely did not, you know, push that on, or not even push it, but just wasn't open about it.
And that's described in the chart because the South Node is in the 12th house, which is the house of the invisible. So it indicates being apart from others in early life, being alone a lot. Connected to the spirit world, definitely. But that's, I don't even know how to describe it. It's where we see everything invisible, everything that's hidden. It's where we see dreams. You know, it's the least, it's like where we see retreats away from the world, ashrams, monasteries. It's anything except being visible. It's anything except being part of the everyday. It's just a total letting go. It's just a total, like, it's just like an existence. Like feeling invisible is, you know, South Node in the 12th house.
Wow, that's incredible. It's so amazing how, I mean, I could not look at that chart and know anything that's happening and how it relates to my actual life. But you just saying these words, it's like you're literally painting the picture of my life and like how it's unfolded over
That's
time.
so weird.
It's so incredible to hear it. It's like as if you've known me for a gazillion, you know what I mean? Like you were my best friend since birth, and you're just like, this is my life. This is how it's been.
This is an intense chart, you know, for a kid. Like, because you're going to be exploring the 8th house and the 12th house immediately, early in life. That's about as difficult as it could be. Where most everything is going to be hidden or taboo, that you're going to be dealing with. So I don't actually know how like a person would cope with that. But as the life goes on, the chart becomes a lot more useful, practical, grounded, and you start to see, okay, all this like content that I didn't know what to do with, that I was picking up on, here's where it has use, here's where it has value, here's where it can change the world, here's where I can leave a legacy. This is a chart that speaks very positively, favorably of later life. This is Louise Hay, this is Wayne Dyer. This is someone who very much in their later life is of very positive impact to the world. But early life is suffering, a lot of psychological suffering, instability, inability to be able to rely on core figures. And also facing the darkness and the fear and those sorts of things at an age where that should never be happening. like for example, right from the very beginning, but definitely by age 7 or 8 for sure. And certainly by age 12, 13. I mean, it's a lot. But your soul was ready, I guess, right? Because it happened, right? And this is your plan. And the chart is the map of the soul. So like, this is what was meant to be. But yeah, it's not an easy, it's getting easier for sure for you to be who you're meant to be. And I think even like society itself is progressing. And some of these things that were judged, so like if you said what you really experienced, as a child, like you may have ended up in the counselor's office, for example.
Right.
But even worse, like kids might have been like, you're a witch. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Or like, especially I think like that show, did you ever watch like Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
No, but I watched Bewitched, and it's like an old one, like an old one, and I loved that show.
Did you resonate? Like, I don't know that one very well.
Yes.
But...
Well, you were going to say, they might say you're a witch, and I was like, because I am one.
Yeah, right? Like, no, there's...
or I was one, or something, in another life, right?
There's real indication of significant mystical ability here. For sure, 100%.
Well, and I remember being really young, and I'm trying to think of, like, how old I was, and I don't know, like, maybe 4th grade or younger. And I remember being really scared because I could feel spirit, and it was like at night where it would get really intense when I was alone. And it was like they were reaching out to connect to me, but it was scary because I didn't understand it yet. I knew it was very real. I knew I wasn't making it up. But I also knew that, like, I was also, like, I understood in my mind that I couldn't talk to these adults in my life about this. And I did try at one time to say, like, there's something going on, and they're kind of looking at me like, there's nothing there. There's nothing happening, So it's, yeah. And it was like I knew a lot for that age, looking back. And at the time I just thought, does everybody experience this? But looking, now that I'm halfway to 90, it's like, looking back, I'm thinking, I don't think a lot of my other friends felt or experienced those things. And it's not that I'm so different. It's just that it's like my soul was really old or something. I just understood a lot already at a young age.
No, it is that you're so different. Like,
yeah, I'm so Uranus. Yeah, I am very different. I think that's the word people would use if they describe me. Like, I am different.
Uranus conjunct to the sun. No, I would just claim it. It's like I was born different. I was born this way, and I want to become liberated. I want to be who I really am in this world. And yeah, I'm interested in death. I'm interested in the afterlife. I'm interested in all these mystical tools. I'm interested in finding God, or whatever it is. I'm interested in witchery, magic, if it exists. I'm interested in the tarot. Whatever, I don't want to put words in your mouth, like in terms of like what is true, but the destiny is to go there.
I love it all. I like all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't put myself in a category, it's not like I don't even know that there's a word for how I believe.
Well, you're meant to believe, but the evolutionary step in this life is, okay, you believe, now prove it.
Yeah, show us
that it works.
I love it.
Virgo, from Pisces to Virgo, Scorpio, and so much more. Chastity, our timer is about to go off. I'm actually surprised by how much we covered today.
Do we have time for a fun random question for Maya Joy?
Nope. We literally have 2 seconds left. That's it.
To be continued then.
To be continued. If you guys would like part 2 of this interview, please let us know in the comments below. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. We loved spending this time with you. Many blessings out there, and namaste.